Hello everybody, how are you doing? It's an absolute pleasure to be here tonight, and this is actually my first talk. Generally when I'm in front of large audiences, I usually have some form of musical instrument around, and I don't have that, so I feel kind of a bit naked and a bit nervous, so we'll try and see how this pans out in the long run. But pretty much I've got it all planned out in my head, and let's just hope this all works. So I've done a lot. So I started in 2003, I came up with the name Module, thanks to a computer error. I moved to Wellington in 2005, I released my debut album, Remarkable Engines. I joined Fly My Pretties and spent ages hooning around the place doing lots of shows. I've worked in video games for over the last year, and I've ran out of time on that one. I've done heaps of stuff, which I'll fill in later. And pretty much, thanks to computers, I can pretty much do anything you can imagine, which is a really, really exciting kind of medium to work in. We've gone from that small little computer to the possibilities that exist in that, which is awesome. So many hats make a cake, and you might be wondering what the heck that means. It means that I put on different creative hats to make the cake, which is the product. So these are some of them. There's an audio designer, a composer, and a sound designer, and that's kind of how I separated things in my mind in order to approach it, what I do. So as an audio designer, it's a bit different than being a sound designer, and that's really going really fast. Can you slow that down? So, you know, you're a bit like a director, and you're kind of taking shots and architecturally designing the space for people to listen to. And I ran out of text there on that one. Composer and musician, it's a bit different like that. You're kind of using a paintbrush and you're creating moments in time. And a musician will play these moments in time using whatever tools or techniques that they have. And a producer sits there and strokes their beard and goes, oh, turn that up a bit. A sound designer is a completely different thing again. It's usually someone that'll run around with microphones and make creature noises like button clicks, transitions, whooshing effects. They put that all together through various means, and it's a lot like painting with sound, which is a really fun thing to do. And we're all working towards making the cake, the hat cake. So it's, you know, you're working on many different hats, and you're working, you know, to create a nice product, which is a nice sonically yummy cake for people to listen to and enjoy. So, yeah. A lot of my job is figuring out how people react to sound, and people react to sound rhythmically, tonically, emotionally, mentally, musically, sonically, collectively, vibrationally, and randomly. And it's figuring out how people react to this stuff. It's really kind of a big part of my job, and actually a lot of fun. And there's a lot of kind of a relationship between sound and light. Sound waves and light waves are very, very similar. You know, lower frequency sounds move slower, like when it's darker. So we already have that kind of built into us as a natural kind of reaction to sound and light. There's also the emotional language of music and sound, which is like how certain chords will trigger off certain moods. A minor is a grumpy, sad kind of chord, whereas C is more kind of happy and, you know, pretty. So the more you know about music, the more colours you essentially have to paint with. So using all these tools, I've done a lot of television adverts. The one that really kind of helped out a lot was the Love Affair in Wellington and all the Wearable Arts Award campaigns. It was on the television for 3 years, which allowed me to tour around the country a lot. And then I've done a lot of music video games, for video games, and just via the digital distribution through the PlayStation network. There's over 70 million users there. There's over 200 million iOS devices, which means the music that I'm creating is reaching a massive audience, a lot bigger than, you know, just being a musician. The Shatter soundtrack that I worked on, it took over a year and a half to create that with over hundreds of different types of demos, and since then it's had over 1 million hits and helped establish soundtracks on bandcamp.com. I won 13 international awards for that one, just for the game and the music. And yeah, I set up an audio department up at my work, up at She was where I work. I worked on Rugby Challenge, which we created a whole interactive, emotional, virtual representation for rugby, and I got to record the haka with the All Blacks, which was an amazing experience, and set up lots of cool crowd stuff for when you're listening and how it reacts to what's happening with the gameplay. The Flick Kick series that I also worked on had over 1 million hits on the App Store, and we've been really working up at work where I do the sound design, you know, to advance these experiences on handheld devices so that you're basically creating interactive experience for people. And in regards to the music industry, it's changed so much from when I started it, and I've come to realize that there's no music industry anymore apart from the one that you decide to create for yourself. And that's essentially what, through luck and perseverance, is what's happened with me. These are some of the other projects that I've been working on, which is a pretend 1970s concept album with a 60-page book. And that is a pretend 1980s rock and roll album that's fronted by a robot. So these are some of the opportunities I've created for myself. The internet and music, you know, it's pretty much, all the tools are there now to create your own entire world and do essentially whatever you like. And, you know, finding an audience and, you know, making cool music for people to listen to is pretty much the goal. And it brings me back to my hat cake. You know, just through the love of sound, you've found a really interesting path through the digital media landscape, using all the various tools and, you know, trying to create interesting creative approaches, which is the whole purpose of all of this, is make something really cool and interesting for people to enjoy. Thank you.